So the 2014 Yankees, who do you think led the team in games played?
This one I'm a little confident in. I could be wrong, but it's definitely in the high, like it's definitely in the 150 range, high 140s. I'm gonna go Brett Gardner.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I am one of your hosts, Stacey Gotsoulias. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Stacey, I'm currently in the process of moving apartments, and I am sitting on a stool that is not meant for a grown man. I'm very terrified.
This show might turn exciting, maybe terrifying
Yes.
for Brian, but exciting for the rest of us. It might be actually pretty funny. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. So coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about Caleb Durbin tearing up the AFL, Arizona Fall League, in case you don't know what that stands for. We're going to look through some interesting Google headlines concerning the Yankees, because this is the season where the rumors start flying and some of them are slightly ridiculous. So we're going to go through that. But first, we're doing Throwback Thursday, and we are looking back 10 years at the 2014 Yankees. Not a very exciting team, to say the least. Some interesting people on that team. It's Derek Jeter's last season. Like, there was a lot going on in 2014.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for the names. I'm excited.
So let's go through some of the highlights and lowlights of 2014. Okay, so they finished the year 84-78, so they missed the playoffs for the second year in a row because they had missed in 2013. It was Derek Jeter's last season. A-Rod was suspended that season, so A-Rod was not around for Jeter's last season because I'll open the curtain for you guys. When I was dreaming up this idea for Throwback Thursday, I was testing my brother on these questions. And he was like, oh, right, wait. Mo and Pettit had their last season in 2013, and A-Rod was there for the end of it, but then he wasn't there for Jeter. I was like, yes. He's like, okay. Yeah. He's like, I blend those two seasons together. I don't blame you, because the 2013 Yankees were 85-79. They were 84-78. It was basically the same team.
This was the infamous Zoilo Almonte team.
This was an interesting team. So they get Masahiro Tanaka for the 2014 season. That was a highlight because Tanaka was fun to watch before he hurt his elbow, because that happened. Big trade deadline move, traded Yangervis Solarte, never nervous.
Yes.
Yangervis for Chase Headley.
Why did they make that move?
Because Solarte started the year really, really hot, and then he just died out after like a month, and they needed a third baseman, and they figured, hey, Chase Headley's doing pretty good on the Padres. Let's trade for him.
But what a weird move to make in a year where you're not winning anyway. Like, yeah. Chase Headley wound up becoming a nice Yankee, actually, but like a weird move to played for a couple of years. Actually, he was on the 2017 team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
he played for a couple of years. Yeah,
yeah. They traded Vidal Nuno for Brandon McCarthy as well.
Yes.
Brandon McCarthy pitched a complete game shutout against the Houston Astros on August 21st, 2014. He gave up 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, didn't give up any walks. And it was the last game that my dad was able to watch before he got too sick to watch anything.
Wow.
And I told Brandon McCarthy that on Twitter years ago. In 2016, I wrote an article about my dad and our relationship and how he got me into the Yankees. And Brandon McCarthy was nice enough to actually retweet it on his account. And yeah, so that was like the last real baseball conversation I had with my dad, was about Brandon McCarthy's complete game shutout against the Astros in 2014.
On the 2014 Yankees. What a memory.
Yeah, I know, like poor Gus.
Yeah.
The last baseball thing that he saw before he coded was the night before he coded was Derek Jeter's last game, and he saw Jeter's double in the first inning, and he pointed at the TV and he gave me a thumbs up, and then he went to sleep. So he didn't get to see the walk-off. He was sleeping, but he saw that double. So that was his last.
That's a pretty good last. That
was his last.
At least it was Jeter that hit it, and not
Yeah. I witnessed Chase Headley hit a walk-off single against the Blue Jays on September 18th. And in that same game, Derek Jeter hit his last ever home run. And funnily enough, on July 28th, 2013, I saw his penultimate home run because he only had one home run in 2014, and it was on September 18th of 2014.
Wow. I saw A-Rod's final home run 2 years later. Nice.
Very nice. So it was a blah year, other than Jeter retiring and all the fanfare surrounding that. Again, they missed the playoffs for the second year in a row, which hadn't happened to the Yankees in a really long time, because after they didn't make the playoffs in 2008, they won the World Series. Well, first spent like $1 billion, then won the World Series in 2009. So I thought we could have a quiz about the 2014 roster, because when I was looking at some of these stats, I was laughing because I couldn't believe who was leading in them, and I wanted to quiz you on this. So let's
see how this goes.
So the 2014 Yankees, who do you think led the team in games played?
This one I'm a little confident in. I could be wrong, but it's definitely in the high, it's definitely in the 150 range, high 140s. I'm gonna go Brett Gardner.
Close. He had 148.
Okay.
Jacoby Ellsbury played in 149 games for the 2014 Yankees.
Wow, Jacoby to the guy who was always constantly injured.
Yep.
Like, his Yankee thing wound up being that he's never available, and yet, wow.
Yep.
That's
Okay. Who led the team in WAR? It was only 3.8. It wasn't like a tremendous season, but
3.8.
Mm-hmm.
In WAR. Ooh. It's gonna be a weird guess, but I think it's a good one just based on the player. Ichiro was on this team.
Mm-hmm. Was it
Ichiro?
No.
Who led the team in WAR?
Brett Gardner.
Of course. 3.8. Don't sit there and think this is why Brett Gardner needs to be Monument Park or something like that. Like, 3.8 is not a good WAR for an entire season.
Let's go through the top WAR guys, the top 12. So it was Brett Gardner, Dylan Betances, Jacoby Ellsbury.
The reliever was second.
Yeah, Tanaka, Chase Headley, Michael Pineda, Martin Prado, Brian McCann, Hiroki Kuroda, Brandon McCarthy. Brandon McCarthy and Chase Headley were both traded midseason, but they were in the top 12 for.
You can bank on that.
WAR. So Brandon McCarthy, Adam Warren, and Francisco.
Wow, Adam Warren. Wow, former Cub great.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Who led the team in home runs?
I'm gonna go to classic power hitter, who I believe was on the team at this point. Brian McCann.
Very good. He had 23 home runs. Only 5 Yankees hit double-digit home runs, which isn't surprising because they weren't a great team. Teixeira was right behind him with 22. Gardner had 17. Ellsbury had 16. And Carlos Beltran, 15.
Carlos Beltran, wow. I was a big Brian McCann fan as a kid because his name sounds like mine. There was no other reason than that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But I remember him as a Brave more than I know he was a Yankee. He wasn't a great Yankee. They, if I'm not mistaken, they hung on to him a little too long. Brian McCann.
Yeah, a little too long. And fun fact, Brian McCann and Mark Teixeira are now stepbrothers because Teixeira's dad married McCann's mom. I think that's what it was. It's either weird. Like one of each parent married each other, so they're like stepbrothers now.
I'm always interested in what John Sterling's call was for some of the guys on this team. I remember Yangervis Solarte was on this team. What was the Yangervis Solarte home run call?
Was he the one that came up with Never Nervous?
I don't know. I know Jacoby Ellsbury was Jacoby Ellsbury's it. I don't know what Ichiro's was actually. Come to think of it, or Beltran's.
I don't either. Not that Ichiro hit that many home runs with them, but I was there.
He was good for a good 10 to 15 a year.
Well, I saw him in 2012. I saw him hit 2 off Josh Beckett in a Sunday night game against the Red Sox in August of
Wow.
2012.
What a pull. What
Yeah.
a pull. I know Mark Teixeira was a text messenger on the Mark Teixeira.
Mhm.
Brian McCann was McCann.
Yeah.
But some of them I want to remember. I believe who else was in the bullpen for this was the end of David Phelps was on this team.
Yep.
This was the end of Alfonso Soriano.
Yep.
I think he was on this team. I think he retired the year after. Yeah, they got Chase Headley. Stephen Drew was on this team. World Series MVP Stephen Drew was on this team. He was. I think he was. Chris Young, I think, was on this team. And if I'm not mistaken, they had 3 catchers on this roster. It was Brian McCann. It was Austin Romine, I believe, as a young Austin Romine. He wasn't on this team?
No.
I thought Austin Romine was on this team.
No. I mentioned one already. He was 12th in WAR. Cervelli.
Cervelli was on this team. I know John Ryan Murphy was on this team.
Yep.
Austin Romine never appeared for this team. Oh, I can't think of any other names on this team.
Yeah, so let's go through just some of the names. Okay, so Kelly Johnson played with the 2014 Yankees. As you mentioned, Stephen Drew, and I mentioned Martin Prado. Brendan Ryan played 49 games.
Wow.
He was also on the
Brendan
2015 team because he was in that.
Yep.
Remember that game when they beat Texas like 28-5 or whatever
Yeah.
that Chris Young, Zealous Wheeler, Zoilo Almonte, Jose Perella. Let's see. Well, Antoine Richardson, he's the one that scored on Derek Jeter's last hit. He was the pinch runner. He scored on that.
Antoine Richardson, what a name.
Oh, I'm wrong. Austin Romine was there, but
I knew it. I knew he was on that team.
He only played in 7 games, and they have him listed as a utility player.
Because he probably made an appearance at like first base or something like that at a point.
Yeah, so you had Tanaka, Phelps, Chase Whitley, Kuroda, CC, Preston Claiborne, Sean Kelly, David Robertson was there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Betances.
Alfredo Aceves, he was on this team.
Yep. Only 4 games. Only 4 games, but he was
He must
there,
have been made appearances in more seasons than I'm remembering. I remembered him on this team.
It was earlier than that when he was with them.
So who was their starting pitching staff? It was CC Tanaka, Hiroki Kuroda at the end of his tenure. Who else was the starting pitcher on this team?
I'm trying to see because I was looking at what's it called? I was looking at the all right, so it was Kuroda, Tanaka, Phelps, Brandon McCarthy, Shane Green, Vidal Nunes.
Shane Green. Wow. And David Phelps, before he went into the bullpen, I guess, was a starter on this team?
Because CC, let's see, he got hurt because he was only 3-4 and started 8 games.
Wow. I don't remember this team at all. I mean, it's a pretty irrelevant team, but geez.
David Huff was pitching for them. Chris Capuano was pitching for them.
Chris Capuano, former Met great.
Yeah, Chase Whitley, like I said, Michael Pineda, 13 games. Oh, my brother and I watched Michael Pineda because he got hurt. We watched him have a rehab start in Scranton in, I want to say it was July of 2014 when we went to Scranton, and they were wearing their bright yellow trolley frogs.
Michael Pineda, the first spider tack victim.
Yeah. So
sticky
I hope you all enjoyed that trip down memory lane, and I hope you were all thinking to yourselves, "Oh yeah, that guy was on the team," because no one's going to remember 2014 other than Derek Jeter retiring. Really, I mean, nothing.
Consider yourself robbed if you missed the 2014 Yankees.
Yeah,
this was a team.
Yeah, that was a team. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to all the news and rumors. We send out all the news that you need to know so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. So coming up next, let's just make fun of some of the ridiculous rumors going around about the Yankees, you know, all over Google and the internet.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place all of your bets. And the great thing about the NFL is if you live in a city like New York, where both football teams are awful, you can watch the rest of the NFL and still bet on the rest of the NFL and have just as good of a Sunday as you would in any other year, because football is that great and that much of a nationwide sport. And you can catch all of it, watch all of it, follow all of it, bet all of it, especially on FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's all available on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday. It's the last day possible. Or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. They get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link is in the description.
So as I was looking through the internet and trying to find things to discuss for today's show, because we'll admit it, this is like the dead season right now, because it's just rumors and speculation and nothing is actually happening. And, you know, honestly, nothing probably will really happen until the winter meetings. And even then, who knows if anything's going to happen. So I Googled Yankees, because what else would I be Googling? And I saw a bunch of headlines mentioning guys that the Yankees might get, which is typical of the offseason. But I just thought it was so funny because so many of these articles were saying things like, the Yankees are expected to go after this guy. And there were like 3 different articles that had almost the same exact wording. And 3 of the guys were Alex Bregman, which we've discussed on the show, Teoscar Hernandez, which was one I was like, oh, that's an interesting one, and Yoan Moncada, which I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a typical Yankee signing, like a guy who's past his prime and hasn't done well since 2019. Sure, the Yankees will probably go after him. So
Moncada would definitely be like a lottery ticket kind of one, right?
Yeah. So what, like, how do you feel about, like, you understand that it's this time of year, in one sense, but it's also like, I don't know if it's because I used to write about baseball. I haven't done it in a while, but, you know, a decade ago, I was doing it a lot. And I tried to steer clear of the clickbaity titles because I didn't want to do that. But it's so prevalent now. And I don't like it. I don't know. It feels squicky. I don't like it.
So you got to be careful when it comes to, it's one of the unfortunate things about being a Yankee fan is, unfortunately, they're involved in every team's rumors every year for everything, mainly because agents want to say the Yankees are involved, and because of baseball's tampering rules, you can't say you're not involved. You're not interested in a player. You're not allowed to. So Brian Cashman, when asked about these players, can't say yes or no whether he's interested or not, even though he probably isn't interested. That's one thing. I do think Bregman and Teoscar are non-Juan Soto plans. The only way that you see them involved in the Yankees is if they don't get Juan Soto. I know it's going to take Yankee fans a little bit of warming up to get, you know, themselves involved in seeing Alex Bregman wearing pinstripes. Stacey, I don't hate the idea. I don't think he comes at an expensive price tag. I don't think he's getting more than a 6 or 7 year deal. I think he's getting like a 4 or 5 year deal, to be quite honest with you. And even if it's I'm okay with higher AAV at a 4-year deal. I am. I don't hate that move at all. I mean, I know he was an Astro, and I know people don't like that and everything, but Alex Bregman is a tremendous fielder, a tremendous hitter, a professional hitter, by the way, which the Yankees don't have a lot of on their lineup at all. Imagine putting him somewhere in our lineup with Aaron Judge. And again, if it helps you guys get over a little more, I don't think Alex Bregman has the same stink attached to him that Jose Altuve does when it comes to that Astros scandal. I know he was involved in the team, and I know, but there is not that same stench coming off Alex Bregman as there is Jose Altuve. So I got to be honest with you. I mean, the Teoscar Hernandez one, I don't think is. I can't picture them signing him. It just, to me, they're not going to have the money to. And coming off the year that he just came off to, he might become a Dodger again. Honestly, though, I think he's going back to Toronto. I think that's where they spend their money.
Yeah, I was
Like,
thinking that would be the same thing, that he would go back to Toronto.
Bregman's the one that I'm really interested in, and one that you had on the list here that I would love them to be in on, even if they get Juan Soto or not, is Christian Walker. He's a really solid first baseman, been in the league for a while, but has great numbers. He's a guy I think you go after. I don't think he's going to cost that much. I think his price tag may wind up going up a little higher than you're comfortable with, only because he's going to be the target first baseman on available, so people are going to start bidding. It can get a little higher than you're comfortable with, but I think Christian Walker should be the top target you go after.
Yeah. I saw another proposal, and it confused me at first because this was the proposal, and try and guess why this confused me. This was a proposed trade from Fansided by someone named Zach Presnell.
Okay.
And it's a trade for Nolan Arenado to go to the Yankees. And the Cardinals would receive right-handed pitcher Will Warren and right-handed pitcher Cade Smith.
Yeah,
why was I
way more than that?
But why was I confused about that?
Because why would the Cardinals do that?
No. Cade Smith, like the Cleveland player. How are there two pitchers named Cade Smith in baseball spelled the same way? How is that possible?
I don't like when these trades are announced, though, these proposals, because it almost feels like the person that's proposing the trade is a Yankee fan, but not realizing when a trade happens like that, it has to work for both teams.
Right.
Why would the Cardinals do that for essentially Will Warren for Nolan Arenado? Why would they do that?
Right.
Like, Nolan Arenado is not past his prime. He's still in the middle of his prime. He still is every year a shoo-in for 40 to 100. Why would they make that move to get Will Warren? It's going to take Will Warren. It's going to take a whole plethora of prospects that Yankee fans are probably not comfortable with. I mean, you guys love yourself some Spencer Jones. He's absolutely in that package. I mean, no doubt about it. He's in that package.
Okay. Wait, speaking of that, there was another trade package that was floating around. I believe that John Boy and Jake were talking about it, and people were making fun of them on social media because they thought that a combo of Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones could get Garrett Crochet.
It probably could. I mean, I think the White Sox.
I mean, it wouldn't be Dominguez's fault. It wouldn't be Dominguez being the problem because Dominguez is a solid player. No, Spencer Jones is unproven, and I think maybe for Garrett Crochet, you might have to add another lower level prospect maybe to bump it up a bit.
Well, I think for Spencer Jones, you're trading for potential, but really high end. I think the upside for Spencer Jones is very high still. So I do think you're trading for that, especially if you're the White Sox. You can afford to make that trade because you're getting a stud in Dominguez, and you're trading for a lot of upside. I don't think the White Sox. I think the White Sox are going to need to be blown up. I don't think Crochet is a guaranteed trade prospect this offseason, unless the White Sox get blown away. Like, I think you need to absolutely make their jaw drop to make them make a move. Because Crochet's young enough for why would you make that move? Why does it benefit you right now? They're not in win now mode anyway. So they have no problem letting Crochet go out there and throw a 1 ERA and just, have a 3-12 record with a 1.48 ERA. They don't have a problem with that. They don't. They'll let it happen. So unless they get blown out of the water, they're not going to make a move. And I don't think Jones and Dominguez, unless Jones is coming off a ridiculous year in Double-A, I don't think Jones and Dominguez Jones, Dominguez, and Warren, now we're talking. I don't think they'd make that move.
That's what I mean. They think they would have to add someone else in there. Yeah. But through no fault of Dominguez, like it's not, and because when you look at that package, Dominguez had a really solid year. I know when you look at the numbers that he had with the Yankees, it doesn't look good. But when you look at his numbers,
look at the minor league numbers.
Yeah.
They were electric.
And actually, if you combine every level that he was on, including the Yankees, he still hit above 300 because he was doing so well in the minors that the Yankees kind of screwed with him when they brought him up to the majors. And one other thing too, he's also proven at the major league level. Right.
And a switch hitter in the middle of that Yankee lineup, they could use more lefty bats. They could always use more lefty bats. So I also don't think I think the potential too, and this, if you do get Juan Soto back, remember you have 5 more years of Jason Dominguez getting paid absolutely nothing.
Right.
If Juan Soto winds up back, the mouth-watering potential of having a lefty in Soto followed by a righty in Judge followed by a lefty in Dominguez is pretty sweet, and you would have that set up for the next 10 years, more than likely, at bare minimum 5. I think it would take a lot for the Yankees to part with Dominguez at this point.
Yeah. Soto and Dominguez being the next 10 years, because if Judge is still playing at this level at 42, I'd be really impressed.
Yeah, well, Aaron, I mean, Judge's contract doesn't take him to that point anyway, right? It takes him to 41, I believe.
Yeah.
So he'd be off the team at that point anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But still, I gotta be honest with you. I enjoy ridiculous trade proposal season more than I enjoy. You think they're going to sign this guy? Because you don't know who they don't even know who they're going to sign yet.
Right. I believe the non-tender deadline is coming up. There's some stuff coming up, and we have things to discuss. Also, I saw a headline that said Tim Hill definitely wants to come back. Like he's interested in coming back to the Yankees. Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
But I couldn't open the article because I had to be subscribed, and I can't be subscribed to everything, people. So yeah. What are you going to do? Anyway, coming up next, Caleb Durbin is tearing up the Arizona Fall League, and we're going to talk about it. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. If you're in good health, SelectQuote works with carriers that can get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You could get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 a month. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. It's the time of year for rumors, and it's also the season for the Arizona Fall League. We have players playing with Yankee uniforms on and representing the Yankees. And one of the guys who's doing really, really well is Caleb Durbin. And I think I see his name mentioned on social media, like literally every day. Like he's becoming like this person that everyone was like, where'd this guy come from? Because he was injured for a while. And then he started playing in the Arizona Fall League, and he's just showing up and showing out in that league, stealing a ton of bases. This number stuck out to me. On Tuesday, he stole 2 bases, which brings his stolen base count to 29 in 23 games played. That's crazy. Also, Caleb Durbin is 5'6", 185. So he's basically like Phil Rizzuto.
He's my height, which is crazy to think about.
He's like teeny tiny. What? You're 5'6"?
Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah, I swear. Yeah. I didn't play Major League Baseball though.
So I'm 3 inches taller than you. Wow, yeah. That's crazy. So okay, he plays shortstop, but people are talking about him as like the heir apparent to Gleyber Torres because of how well he's doing in the Arizona Fall League. So do you think, because I think it's too premature to talk about Caleb Durbin coming up and replacing Gleyber Torres. So do you think that they bring someone in from the outside, maybe they move Jazz to second, get a third baseman, or because we discussed this on the show last season, both me and my former producer wanted Oswald Peraza to come up and play something, either third or second, because they did have him play third a little bit. And he's another one of those guys that they're jerking around. I think it's too early for Caleb Durbin.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just too early to be, planting his flag on wherever he's going to play for the New York Yankees.
They're like anointing him.
he could be doing this in the Arizona Fall League. It doesn't necessarily always translate to the major league level.
Right.
I think their infield plan is very contingent on what they do at second or third base. If they land an elite third baseman, like if they get Alex Bregman, then it's easy. You move Chisholm to second base, you keep Bregman at third, and you call it a day. If they can somehow make a trade for a second baseman, if they trade for Nolan Arenado, whatever it winds up happening, you can basically Jazz's versatility becomes very key in this scenario. I think there's if the season started tomorrow, where would Caleb Durbin be? At what level in the minor leagues?
Well, where was he? Was he with Scranton or was he with Somerset?
Your hesitancy, though,
is
I don't even know. Me that he's not going to be a major leaguer. Like if he was one of their top prospects, that's immediate to be called up or was talked about to be called up in September. You didn't even hear this guy's name talked up in September. We didn't hear about him all year. How many minors Mondays did we mention him in?
I was going to say, did we mention him in any minors Mondays? Because I don't think we did.
I think we did once or twice, but I memean, regardless, you're not. They didn't think to call him up at the end of the year when they needed a base stealer. Who was the guy's name again that they had?
Duke Ellis.
Yeah, Duke Ellis, who was. Yeah. They were calling him up instead of Caleb Durbin, who apparently can steal a bunch of bases. So, yes, get excited. Yes, he could be a top tier prospect. Does he kill it in Somerset next year? Hopefully. Does he make it to AAA? We'll see. Making it to the major leagues and anointing him. You guys got to remember, although the thought on Gleyber Torres has soured for sure, Gleyber Torres was the #1 overall prospect in all of baseball. Gleyber Torres was, it took Aroldis Chapman, who was the top closer in the game, to get Gleyber Torres in a trade. By the way, that was to a trade to a Cubs team that was desperate for a reliever, that needed a reliever desperately, and the Yankees had to throw in Adam Warren to get that deal done. So they had to give up 2 relievers that they thought very highly of to a Cubs team that already was desperate to get a reliever. That was what took the Cubs to get the top prospect in all of baseball. And by the way, the Cubs asked for that much knowing they had that position backed up. Knowing that they had shortstop pretty backed up in the future with Javi Baez. And they had another player that isn't in the majors anymore that I can't remember his name right now too. But regardless, the Cubs were loaded at that time with middle infield prospects because they had Javi Baez, they had Gleyber Torres, they had one other player. He got removed from the league for domestic violence. I don't know why his name is.
Addison Russell.
Addison Russell, who was a really top tier player. Plus, Starlin Castro was on those Cubs teams. So the Cubs had plenty of backup in the middle infield in the future. Still, it took that much to get Gleyber Torres off their hands and as the #1 prospect in all of baseball. So to sit there and sour so much on Gleyber Torres, that was the #1 prospect in baseball. It took all that to give up. And look at what Gleyber Torres' career wound up becoming. A lot of you can't stand him. I think he, is a solid player. We can argue that till the cows come home. Regardless, though, you're not hearing Caleb Durbin talked about that at all. Yeah. So, let's slow our horses on Caleb Durbin coming up to the major league level and making an impact.
Yeah. So on Tuesday, Caleb Durbin went 3 for 4 with a home run, a walk, 4 runs batted in, 3 runs scored, the 2 stolen bases. And the night before, he stole 4 bases in one game. That's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, he's 24. He's batting .318 with a 10.06 OPS in the Arizona Fall League, which is cool for the Arizona Fall League, but let's not anoint him the next second baseman of the Yankees. Not yet.
Exactly the point. Point. It's really cool, really great for right now, but let's hold our horses.
Yeah. So coming up tomorrow, Fan Mail Friday. So get those questions in on YouTube, leave them under the pinned comment. Insiders, I already sent you a scathing text. Just kidding. I didn't say that. I just said, you guys have a deadline. Send those questions in. And if you're new to us, Fan Mail Friday is something we do every week. We answer your questions, and they can be general baseball questions. They don't have to be about the Yankees, and they could be questions about us if you don't know things about us and you want to know.
Free. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's the off season. Let's go crazy. Just ask us anything you want. Just make sure it's proper and not rude. That's all we ask. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition, or this throwback edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We will catch you for Fan Mail Friday.